Love that music. Get caught up in it. Get caught up in the tunes, baby.
Oh man. All right. So we are live here, the Nerd Comic Cycle. I mean the Nerd Cycle. Wait a minute. Nerd Cycle Comic Flick Show. How am I gonna forget the
It's
Nerd
up in the corner. Look,
Flick
we
Show?
put it up there for you.
Yes, right up there, right where the Doochie is, right where the
Oh,
Doochie, and he's back this week. Thank you guys for joining us. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, my name is Dog Pound Brown, friendly neighborhood host today. We got to my right, up the Doochie, and then down there at the bottom, the SC Steel City Hitch is in
What's up?
his house.
That's right.
He's in the building, y'all. All right, so let's get some house cleaning out the way before we get into our main topic this week. All right, make sure that you guys are going to nerdcyclopedia.com. There you will get all our links to all your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and also on Instagram at Nerdcyclopedia. Make sure if you are watching us on YouTube right now, you're hitting that subscribe button and also hitting that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you are watching us on Facebook, definitely, appreciate you coming on. Make sure you hit that follow button and also hit that share button. So anytime that we're on, you're sharing it with all your favorite, peoples who like the stuff that we got going on the Nerd Cycle show. If you're listening to us on your phone or in your car and everything, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. And most of all, we like getting some feedback here. Please promote CBBS. All right. So, it's a thing, it's a thing. Carbonite Bounty BS, a Star Wars podcast, a Star Wars Facebook group. We talk about Star Wars every week, Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. We were in this where we are on episode 4 coming up this week of Obi-Wan. So if you're watching Obi-Wan and if you like a nerd content, period, just join us. Period. We got some good stuff. We got some good people with our friend Obi-Wan, Ben Kenobi, Ken Kenobi, I should say, and also T. Mitch is in the house and everything. But yeah, and also make sure that you're leaving us some feedback. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com.
Awesome. I love hearing about all the ways to contact us. It's always my
Got to let them know. Got to let them know. So, so this week we are getting into the nuts and bolts of the first 3 episodes of The Boys. After such a long hiatus and everything, we come back with The Boys. Nerds talk about The Boys. If you're listening to us on your podcast and everything, nerds are talking about The Boys. We got some really good, crazy stuff coming with these first 3 episodes. So, without further ado, let's just take a little, short, synopsis of what we thought about like the first 3 episodes. Just like a little short opinion piece. Let's start with you, Douchey.
Well, I mean, you can say it right. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, it's like an animated show coming to life. Like just just everything they put into it. So like they don't stop at just one thing. They have to make sure at each death it is exuberant, exploding, bloody, as mess as possible. And so, I mean, it's just glorious to see this kind of show and them just reaching all the board, reaching the lines that they can go to. Because obviously, you wouldn't see this type of show on a regular TV. So, thank God for regular streaming services. This show is made for mature audiences, very much so. And it's just they love to push it as far as they can. And just when you think you've seen one thing, then you see another thing. And the first death scene, in fact, like I just watched the first death scene and I just like it blown away. Like I would never want to go like that. It's just unbelievable what they do, and they just push that envelope so far. And it's just an insane show, and it just makes it so great that they have no limitations to what they can do and exploit. So I mean, for that, you just love it. I mean, it jumps right into it. You know, after how long? What, a year hiatus? You know, you're finally right back into it, and it hooks you within the first just couple minutes alone. Amazing. I love this show. Love it.
Yeah, it was truly awesome. What do we think about it, Steel City?
I feel like 3 episodes at once is so much for the boys because like,
but it's not enough because I don't want to stop.
It's just like a train crash you can never look away from.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
insane. And I feel like each the psychological tension and horror is ratcheted up to the 10th degree this season. It's like everything that happens to everybody is horrifying. Like they've gone from shocking us with body horror, which they do. Like there's plenty of body horror shocks and plenty of gore shocks here. Like that's not. We put the disclaimer up. Like it's very explicit. If you're under like 35, you shouldn't watch this show at all.
If you're under 35.
Yeah, if you're under 35, this is what I recommended for you. You don't want to do that. But what's interesting is they've turned like the gores, like the body dysmorphia, whatever, like the feeling of disassociation that you get from watching that sort of violence happen to people randomly. And they've added a psychological component where there's also all this incredibly like deep, painful psychological stuff going on. Like I found myself having to look away from the screen repeatedly, but not at like someone's head exploding like a pumpkin. Like that I was fine with.
Right.
Like, all right, that happens in this universe. Now it's like I'm still. I mean, I know it's at the end, but man, oh man, I just want to talk about the psychological like insanity and deviousness of Homelander making the Deep eat his friend Timothy. And it's just it was so funny, and I couldn't even like watch him take the first couple bites. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna just jump right into it.
I just want to talk about this crazy. Like, I feel like if we just start going, this is the crazy thing I saw this crazy thing. Like we just start doing that.
Timothy scene was so just. I guess heartbreaking in a way, if you want to call anything in the show like heartbreaking and everything. Yeah. You know, they sort of teed it up. You know, the last episode with him, you know, the Deep having sex with his girl and everything, and Timothy just watching him, you know, in the fish tank and stuff. But to have, I mean, for Homelander to just get that deep, you know. No pun intended and everything, but just to get that deep as far as bringing Tim, you know, Timothy. I'm calling it a starfish, you know, like Timothy and everything.
Like
octopus.
Yeah, the octopus.
Yeah, I'm calling it an octopus, Timothy. But that's just crazy how he went there with him just to mess with him, just to mess with his mind, you know, just to see if he would actually do it. And you knew as soon as they brought the whole seafood tray in that the Deep was just like, oh no.
It was just the foreshadowing to, you know, just how crazy of a mind a Homelander is, and just doesn't care anymore, and just like this is me, and his announcement of coming out, this is me, and I'm not going to take it anymore. It's his route to evil. You know, he's Omni-Man, you know, with he's coming out as Omni-Man.
he's worse than Omni-Man.
Yeah.
Omni-Man, at least he had like some sort of well, is he worse than Omni-Man?
No, because Omni-Man loved his son.
Yeah. Omni-Man loved his, but Omni-Man did not care about himself. You know, it wasn't a sort of self thing. Homelander, that's all he cared about. From the first episode of this season, when I thought it was such a great line about with him and Stormfront, and they, you know, she was like, you know, you're built here, you're here to bring on like the lead the master race. He's like, master race, I don't care about the master race, I am the master race. You know, he doesn't care about leading anybody, he only cares about himself. Mm-hmm. You know, Homelander is always going to do Homelander things, and it's such a great thing to see. It's such a funny thing and scary thing to see at the same time when you watch Homelander do his work. And
right, because there's nobody that can stop Homelander, and he knows it, and you know, so he knows there's nothing that could stop him, and so he's the ultimate being, and he doesn't need anybody else. Now he's finally coming into his own, coming into like season 3 where he's finally becoming who he truly is.
Right.
The narcissist superhero, right?
Oh, so
It's
superhero no longer.
it's interesting. I was reminded of nothing more than the way certain depraved Roman emperors would behave as they sort of came into their powers. Like if they like Caligula, who took office super young and sort of just started realizing that there was nothing anybody could do to him, no matter what he did. There would never be any consequences because he was the emperor. So he would start doing more and more ostentatious things. He made his horse a senator, and he would have these dinners. And this is what I was thinking of this during this Timothy scene, where he would have these dinners, and he would have the senators they'd all be laying there on their couches eating, and he would say, okay, and now for some entertainment, and he'd be like, we're going to have a sex show, and the female performer that would come in would be one of the senators' wives, and he'd be like, let's go. So that's the type of stuff that they used to do, in those sorts of crazy courts. And it seems like Homelander's really leaning into this like debauchery and this like self-congratulation. And that is what would always happen to these, teenage figureheads that would get put on the throne of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
They would end up going crazy and doing all this crazy stuff like Homelander's doing.
And he still he still needs to be loved. That's one thing, as crazy and as he is, he still needs to be loved, and so he'll go to whatever extents and extremes, to be loved.
We see that when he first gets the news that his polling just went up and everything right after the suicide. Jumping everything with the female and him just coming out and everything, just making himself, coming out, making himself, known and, just appealing to like, certain demographics and everything, and knowing that those certain demographics are just loving, what he's saying and everything, what he's doing. And to him, okay, if he has this type of audience that's catering to him or just, just feeling everything he's saying, he's like, okay, well, I could just be myself. I could just go out there and just do whatever I want. And like you were saying, Steel City, sort of like a kid, like a Joffrey, sitting on a throne, making, just thinking about any depraved thing he could actually think of because he knows he can do it, and he knows that no one's going to stop him. Everyone fears him. They fears what he can do. So the boundaries of his imagination is just limitless at this aspect, and it's just crazy from what we see of Homelander from just the beginning in the first season, everything up to right now. He hasn't really progressed as like a character because all this has already been in him, but we're just seeing everything just open up, right now. I mean, this if you want to call escalation, this is what this is where we're at the point with Homelander.
And this is something, this quote I pulled is a pretty well-known quote from Prince, which is Niccolo Machiavelli's #1 work. Everybody knows this thing. And he says, since fear and love can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. This is because, as Homelander notes here, being loved is all based on the capricious, nature of the crowd. Are they going to approve of what you're doing? It's hard to know whether they will or not, as we find out for Homelander here. Homelander is essentially, our humanity is being protected from the worst angels of his nature, essentially by this, unspoken agreement that they will adore and love him without any sort of, judgment on his actions.
Right.
And he's like, well, that's not, I can't control what they love because you can't really control what somebody loves. I don't think that you can.
Right.
But, it's a lot. You can control what somebody fears. Fear, fear does a lot to keep people in line. Say what you want. I think there's a lot of times, take the traffic situations where, the penalty of getting caught and gone to jail prevents a lot of stuff from happening. So, not for me personally, but for other people. So for me, I think it's interesting that Homelander has sort of landed on this very famous political dictum which
Yeah.
is that it's a much safer to have a base of power that's based on fear of your, retribution for you.
Right, exactly what that's why he even tells, when Starlight tries to say, we'll release this, release the film or release the footage of you on the airplane, and he's just like, go ahead, I'll make them fear me if they won't love me. It's just like that's what he's going to choose, because he wants to rule, and he doesn't care if it's through fear or through love. It doesn't
And,
matter as
and
long as
that
he's
was
on top.
and that was sort of like a turning point in itself, because when she threw that at him and he felt that he didn't, okay, well, what how much damage can it really hurt me? So, and he's making his decision at that point. Well, she puts this out. Well, first I'm gonna, take out the take out a city, take out, power structures and stuff, take out, infrastructures and everything. I could do all this stuff, and nobody's going to stop me. You put this thing out, you're trying to blackmail me. People are going to hate me anyway, but I'm powerful enough to make everyone, just fear me at the end of the day and everything. So this thing that you're talking about trying to blackmail me with, it's just not going to hurt me. It's just not going to hurt. And I think at that point he realized, wow, I have the power. Now how far is it's going to go, and how the how our heroes, the boys, are going to counteract this. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be way interesting to see how they take down Homelander.
Right. Just as our boys, they're tired of losing,
Oh yeah,
so
yep.
they're
I like
tired
that
of
line
losing.
too.
So, it's time to get the playing field even, So it's got to go with that, right?
Speaking of the boys, they all had a fun Christmas break. They had a great time. Marvin's slowly losing his mind as he tries to put away that splinter in the mind feeling, which is such a great line from The Matrix. That splinter in the mind that something's not right, and that he can fix it if he just puts his mind to it. And he can't stop. He can't walk away. Huey is so like Huey is so screwed again, and it's just like it's so funny.
He's tries so hard.
Tries so hard, but
He found the nicest, sweetest politician, right? He's like, okay, their whole thing is about equality and this, and then nope, she's total Machiavellian, just a total Machiavellian animal, just a murderer, just as bad as Homelander probably. I mean, as bad, but
Yeah.
Not really even worrying about being alone. Just doesn't care. Doesn't care. Power is power,
Yeah.
And it brings this, it brings this interesting. Homelander hits on this interesting philosophical point, which is again something you see a lot in fiction. You pulled the trigger, so now what? So, like, if I keep doing this at you, eventually you're gonna quit flinching, right? Because you're either gonna hit me, and then we're gonna see what happens, or you're just standing there like an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really think Homelander as the Homelander as the big dog, and Homelander as a symbol of America here. The War on Terror era of the United States is what he's really a symbol of. So what would happen? I mean, what would happen to, say, a rogue nation that did something stupid, and something were to happen to some city in the United States? That would be bad for them. Like the outcome, I can guarantee you two things about the outcome. It's not going to be fun for anybody.
No.
And whoever hits the United States won't be around to worry about it.
Right.
No.
It's just like Omni-Man,
Right.
It's his to rule.
Right. And and when you really think about it, and this is again, we talk about this, and I'm like, yeah, we start talking about the body horror and the crazy like visuals and the effects and the gore and the guts and the disgusting idea, like the crazy stuff that's so disgusting you can't even imagine they would do it, and they do it, and then you can't believe you saw it, and then they're already to something else that's even crazier. And then we get to these basic political philosophy principles, which we talked about DP when we did our Watchmen series. A lot of this stuff is from like very similar to Watchmen, which is who watches the Watchmen, who takes care of the most powerful person.
Whereas you got that type of show who doesn't deal with like parody or irony or whatever. This show, it takes like the satire is what I want to call it. Watchmen does not deal in satire. This show deals so much in satire. Yeah, who watches a Watchmen? This show deals so much in satire and irony to the point where it's crazy how you have all this body horror stuff that makes you laugh and sort of makes you cringe because you're so desensitized by it at this point watching this show, and but at the same time the writers know their characters so much they can make these profound political points through the superhero, through the characters. That's just really crazy, especially Homelander, because he's just spouting off everything that's going on, in a lot in today's society and stuff. It's just crazy how like Butcher on, Billy Butcher on one hand. Him and Homelander are two sides of the same coin. I thought it was such a great scene where Homelander was feeling so down on himself, like that first episode. He had to come to his enemy, Billy Butcher, and sit down with them because he was the only one that could relate to him. He felt that could relate to him.
Yeah, he's the only one who understands. Right.
In the whole world, just Billy. And Billy wants him dead. So
yeah, Billy wants him dead, but he will
let the person that understands him on Earth wants him dead, which means you can infer that anybody that would understand him would want the same thing. And why wouldn't you? I mean, he's basically points out a very real thing, which is the weak continue to exist at the mercy of the strong. It's just the truth, right? It's one of those things that's true. What politics is what's the duty there of the strong to the weak, right? There's a lot of really complicated questions that I'm not unfurling here because that's going to take way too long.
That's a whole different podcast there.
And beyond that, the job I would do would be a D- job for reasons I know.
But another thing I want to go back to what DP was saying here about like the whole like the writers bringing up the satire of these moments,
right?
Like just for like the instance I'm thinking is like when the secretary lady comes in and tells Homelander, "You're up, your points are up," and he's just sitting there butt naked. There's a major point going on here, and he just stands up and starts to get an erection as she keeps telling him, "You're up."
That was crazy,
right? And he's just standing there butt naked, right? So you're up. Oh, I know.
Yeah, can't you see it?
Right. Don't worry about that. Right. It's just they know their characters so much that they can do that. So it's just like, this is a serious topic, but yet that has the right satire, unlike, obviously the Watchmen.
Right.
The Watchmen, besides a blue penis hanging around everywhere, I mean
Well, Dr. Manhattan comes to that eventual realization, right? Why wear a suit?
Yeah.
Homelander kind of is here. So it's an interesting homage, right? It's an inversion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could come to that point, I'm like free and everything. So why am I wearing this corny, superhero?
If I don't care if you love me, why would I dress? Like, why would I do that? I can
right.
I mean,
this idea of it's Nietzsche, and it's idea that once you progress to a certain amount of power, you can progress beyond morality, which is to my mind bullshit because you can never progress beyond morality. But it's this idea that it was very prevalent in Nazi circles. So it's interesting that this is what Stormfront's telling Homelander. And Homelander's had there's always some weird, like the kink with Homelander is always self-worship, right? Self-congratulation. And it's interesting, to find as they've honed in on what is the thing about these sex acts that he likes, right? And they've gotten all the way to it's just the praise. And here that scene you're talking about, right, where he's getting an erection, just hearing about his numbers going up. Mm-hmm. There's no other stimulation there. It's not because he's found an equal. It's not he has no counterpart. He's not seeing something. He's no empathy. It's just self-congratulation.
Right. He needs to be loved, and it doesn't matter how he gets it or where he gets it from. If it's being loved through intimidation, fear, or making himself just like the hero. So if he found out, okay, now I don't have to be a hero, and I can still be loved, because people are going to love him because, as we see in society, people like hearing the truth, or hearing off the wall truths, I should say.
People like hearing truths that their perceived truths and everything.
Right.
And once they hear those, they feel a certain way. They feel validated. We're living in a society where everybody now has a platform. Everybody feels that they can say something. Everybody feels that they can input their word and actually make a difference in the world. And then when all those people who have all these platforms, get together, or you get all this noise and everything that's going around and everything. Homelander is like the one who brings it home, a pun intended and everything. It makes it land, home and everything, So if you want to put it like that, Homelander is the single most powerful person in this universe, and he knows where he stands. Well, he knows now where he stands, and he let go of that fear, and he's not afraid to be exactly who he is in those aspects and everything.
Right.
So he can listen to all these people talk about him, and all these platforms that people have that could actually speak, and give him those polls and those ratings and everything that he gets like an erection on. If he gathers that much more people, then it'll just be that much more bigger for him. It'd be really interesting way if the writers find a way to turn this flaw, because it is a flaw that he has, into his biggest like kryptonite, per se. If the boys can figure out some way to use this, they're thinking it's like some sort of tangible physical thing that could take down Homelander, when really this is Homelander's biggest flaw himself.
Right, but eventually, I mean, that's what's gonna make him snap and become a total bad guy. When this whole Starlight relationship, breaks down and the people start to hate him, he's going to completely snap.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah.
He's on the verge right now. I mean, he's just, just one bad day, right? One bad day.
One bad day. So what happens when Homelander? Okay, so he's got the adulation and everything, and finds out that he needs he can also rule with fear or whatever. So what happens when that fear gets taken out from people and people aren't afraid of him anymore? What is Homelander at that point?
Well, he's going to run into the same problem that they're running into threatening him. You can only do it so many times. That's what he points out. He's like, if you make me do this, I'm just going to do it once. I'm not going to play around. After I do this, people will not ask this question again. I won't have to threaten anybody. They'll just do what I say. So I think he very much understands that. But it's interesting that this adulation thing, it's become like indirect to direct, right? Like at first it was from, the Vought Corporation itself, and then it was expressed through his boss's, approval of the money that he made, and then it was expressed in these poll numbers. And then when that went aside, he kind of used Stormfront as like a stand-in, but she wasn't really the right energy for him.
Yeah,
because it was all about another goal beyond him. And the thing for Homelander is he's the end to it. Everything for him is the end to itself. It's just how it is.
Well, he was a tool. So just like Vought is using him as a tool, Stormfront was using him as a tool, and he's getting tired of those. Tired of people just using him.
Mm-hmm. Right, because he feels that he is the ultimate, and he's the one who should not be the tool. He should be on top of the totem pole, controlling everything. So it's going to be interesting how it starts to turn and everything with these next few episodes, of course.
How about that? Our beginning scene in the first episode, the whole inside the penis. that was just something I would just not expect.
I want you inside me. Yeah.
I was like, there's no way.
And like they're going there.
No. Yeah, yes way.
Oh, and then he's just inside, just.
Oh man. Oh,
like for a second, as a guy, you're like, does that really work? for one quick moment, you're like, maybe.
I'm sure. Throughout human history, I'm sure people have experimented.
I mean, it's just putting a catheter,
breaking
right?
themselves down to the size of a microscopic human being, to the size of like a Happy Meal toy. I don't know if we've been experimenting with that too much. I mean, Fantastic Voyage was fictional. It was not a documentary of something we were up to in the 50s.
That would just be super crazy and everything.
He just sneezes, and it's just
everything about this show, though. Like as soon as that scenario starts, you're just thinking, oh no! Like
hold on for the ride. Where's the roller coaster? Hold on.
Oh,
Here we go.
And then it's great because they surprise you sometimes with more like they're just they're having that fight with the Crimson Countess, and she just explodes that guy in a foam rubber suit for no reason at all. There's no reason that was a miss shot, right? That could have hit anything. It could have hit a building. It could have hit a hot
A
dog.
stuffed
cart,
animal, maybe.
It could have hit a stuffed animal. It could have hit a cotton candy machine. No, they
it's
chose
a
to have it
Homelander.
hit somebody and have them explode, which was unnecessary, and also you can't like happen so fast you couldn't focus on it until after the fact. Man.
Are we talking about the flashback scene in the third episode?
No, that was
No. When they're at the park,
When they're in the park.
and she's running away,
Uh-huh.
and she shoots her her hand thing.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it hits the
Okay,
guy dressed as
okay,
Homelander.
Okay. Yeah. When they was at the amusement park.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy because she did another thing in the third episode when they were doing like the flashbacks to like Soldier Boy, the days of the Soldier Boy and Payback, the whole the 7 before the 7. That third episode just had me just dying. The guy that was flying and he went up in the air and then the missile came and shot him out the air and everything. It just had me dying right there. Oh man.
This show reaches such extremes of like tension and hilarity like at the same moment in a way that maybe like reminds me of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
like it's like almost that sort of tension, except the sword of Damocles hangs over everybody all the time. Or if they don't do it, it's not like with Larry David where someone's gonna call him a bald asshole. Like if someone's gonna rip their spine out of their body like it's in Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah,
it's also kind of like the like a James Gunn first scene of Suicide Squad type of thing. Like each thing has to be bigger than the previous thing. Like what are we gonna do next to top this?
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's just craziness.
Speaking of directors trying to top scenes and stuff, we on the very first episode we get like the Dawn of the 7 trailer, or they're at the movie theater watching what looks like a Justice League Zack Snyder bit, but we get like the Dawn of the 7. I love the way that was just put together, and how they all just got together and was fighting the villain and everything. But they're in. Then we cut to them actually watching the movie in the theater and not feeling really too happy about it. Just feeling like super jaded and everything. And then we see like Homelander just looking. He's just looking and everything, man. And then I believe that the director's name was Bork. It was like release the Bork cut. It just as a thing on releasing.
Right, he brags about everybody signing the petition to get it made.
I love when movie Homelander, where you heard the line where he goes, "We'll do it as a team." That'd be rolling. Why even give this guy a team? He doesn't need a team. It's so crazy. But that Superman need a team. I mean, I guess that's a trope, in comics. So you got to take it.
I think something that Ducci hit on earlier about this being a different show than what we see on like other streaming services, or what we don't get or not going to get on other streaming services. On like your Disney Plus, you're never ever going to see anything like this. So it's so refreshing to watch a superhero show that actually, I if you want to call it for adults, I guess that's what it is. But has the balls to not hold back, not only on like the gore and the horror and stuff, but like the political side of it, to actually balance the two and to still make it entertaining all at the same time. Like you were saying, Juchi, you're watching these 3 episodes. It got kind of okay. It's a lot to watch for 3, but it's like, where's 4? I want 4 right now.
Like I'm ready for 4. Okay, I'm ready to go. Like you can tell me I gotta wait a week now.
Oh man!
And after I only watched 1 episode this week, I gotta watch wait a whole another week for 1 episode. You give me 3 at a time at least.
Every one of these episodes is like drinking a 6-pack in an hour. And the first one's all you can do it. You know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily recommend that, but you can do it. The second one is a terrible idea. You can't. I mean, that second one you can do it. It's been done by people I've heard of. You can get it done, but I don't recommend it. And then it's exhausting, and I think it's just I don't know. It's like anything can happen any second. Like you know what I mean? You're watching a scene with characters that you think you're going to interact in a certain way, and then one of them just says, "Break my arm, please."
What?
Break my arm.
That's
I'm so terrified. I'm so terrified of my work wife. And then
right. You're right. I gotta have this done. So that's your solution to avoid being like
If having your head explode.
oh man, I mean just period and everything. The other thing that had me down on the third episode was when Homelander just threw a curveball to Starlight in the whole American hero and that whole concept, American hero, American Ninja Warrior thing. That had me just dying, period. But anyway, the whole reality show. But he threw
Hang up your cape.
Yeah, he threw a curveball to Starlight and said, "Okay, you're my woman now. You're mine." So and just had him kiss her and everything. And then they brought like the hashtag Homelight. That just had me just rolling. Oh my goodness. Hashtag Homelight for real.
Hashtag Homelight.
I mean, these writers on this show are so on point with making a satire and just relating it to things that are going on today, and they're doing such a great job to relate it to other like DC and Marvel shows that are not doing this type of thing and sort of like hold themselves back. And sometimes I do feel that, especially with the Disney shows, that they do hold themselves back maybe a little bit too much, to a point where, okay, we know a character can go a certain way. We know certain characters can act more realistic or have more common sense or logic in certain aspects, but we just don't get it because it's still a Disney show at the end of the day. And on the other side of that, with like Warner Brothers DC shows, they could push it a lot further, but for whatever reason, they're idiots and don't do it.
Well, it's like Disney. They don't want their Scarlet Witch to kill people, where you put her in a movie and she kills a whole wizardry.
All of the wizard.
Right, kills the wizard, kills Mr. Fantastic, the Black Bolt. I mean, we all know Scarlet Witch kills every Professor X there ever was. I mean, all of them.
Makes it so Dwight's now, Reed Richards.
Oh man, that's Dwight is. Hey, that might actually work there.
Dwight as Dr. Doom would be pretty cool. I would watch.
Oh yeah. Dwight as Dr. Doom. Yeah, give
I
that
know.
to me.
I know.
But yeah, this show is definitely did a lot for me. Because back before it first came out, I never even heard of The Boys. I had no expectations on what I was watching and everything, and it's got me to a point where I'm not wishing I'm seeing it. I'm not wishing I'm seeing this type of thing on Marvel and DC stuff, but I see quality writing in this show. I'm seeing chances being taken to where it's like I was saying before. They know their characters. They give all their characters something to do. More, Mother's Milk. Huey, everybody has an arc. Everybody has like a storyline or something, Frenchie and like the girl, they all have something, and they do it in such a great way to where you're not feeling rushed with the story. Whereas like the Disney stuff, sometimes you get like a lot of plot and then they rush to the end to make everything all, make sense or whatever.
Yeah, and you get a lot of filler too, like when the Netflix shows, because now they're like hour-and-a-half episodes, so you just get a lot of nonsense filler.
Yeah.
Like at least this filler is like creating back character for all these people. Like like Frenchie wouldn't even get love from like the other shows, but Frenchie has his own story. Each person has their own story, has their own backstory, and they focus on that just enough to keep us wanting more of it. And they do a great job of it. And I mean, Amazon doesn't have too many shows, but yet, I will subscribe all day just for this show alone. Because I
haven't canceled my subscription yet, so I mean, I know Disney has my money every month and everything, but
Disney
I pay yearly for Amazon Prime, and I'm like, ordering stuff off their stuff all the time, so it's a bonus that I get, Amazon, the Amazon Prime Video with this and everything.
Those fools, they can cancel it now. We wouldn't even Wow, they spend all this money for them. Man, I love how the way they show how the fascism of Vought has mutated here.
Yeah,
it's something more of a cult of personality for Homelander, And that's something that is interesting to think about in the way that fascism spread in Europe in the 30s, is how it mutated from a general right-wing anti-communist ideology, which was in response to the Soviet revolution. So there was a real communist threat, and they really were trying to export the revolution. And so there was a reactionary movement in Europe, and then a certain guy came along. And turned that movement into something that became a cult of personality for himself. And we're seeing maybe that turn, which is interesting for a show that's so, this show makes political points in a satirical way as good as anything since, the humble submission for a solution for the problem of Ireland. Have you guys ever read the essay on the problem of Ireland? By Jonathan Swift? So it's this idea, like, what are we to do? Ireland has a famine, and there are too many Irish, and so he suggests that the Irish could eat their children, and then that would solve the problem. It would solve the problem twice, because it would solve the problem of the hungry people, and it would solve the problem of there being too many Irish.
Crazy.
So that satire, solve
or you could just snap them out of existence,
right? Or you could ban
that simple, just like that, just like that.
So this, but what the satire did is it proposed what actually was happening in a way that made it easy to understand from an analogistic standpoint, which is what the boys are doing really well here. I know when we talked DP about season 2, it's been a long time. Like, a lot has changed in our podcast organization since then.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how that imagery echoed what we were seeing in the election in that year, just 2020. And how it seemed like there was a huge parallel between the two.
Yep.
And Homelander sort of coming out of, the shadows and saying, no, I am as selfish as this. I am the hero. I'm the hero.
Yeah.
It very much echoes, real world events in ways.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just that personality, to where, okay, you could sort of predict where things are going based on your if you know history, and how people certain leaders and everything acted back then, and how they took over, and how they used what they believed in to sort of just change that, what you say, cult of personality and everything, to bring about fascism, and just have it just pervasive as like a disease spread it across, like through their continent and everything. This show has a really great, interesting thing with Homelander. It's like the biggest question has become not only what are you going to do. So the show really started out with, okay, these superheroes, and they're bad. The superheroes doing bad things. Now they got a Homelander problem. What are you going to do about this guy? And I don't think it could be resolved in like one season or anything like that. Like, it's sort of like this thing, like you could sort of pose, what is the rest of the series going to look like dealing with Homelander, because he's that powerful, where he's going to be really hard to take down and stop. How will the writers be creative enough to deal with this escalating problem? And Homelander is still holding himself back. He's still not, to the point where he feels that, okay, he could just do whatever he likes. He has an idea that he can, but he has not done that yet. But the boys see that coming. Everybody else in society doesn't.
Right, because everybody else in society has always looked up to this guy as a national hero, and so now he's coming out as this, tyranny of a guy, but yet those are the people that like him even more now. Okay,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, is it Sam?
I see it every day.
I know, we see it, and we see it all the time. I mean, people storm the castle all the time. He's getting his people behind him, and since he wants to be loved, he comes out with the hashtag Homelight, because he has his crazy followers. Now he wants to take these followers that are all humble and sweet, and the squeaky clean. So he's trying to get everybody to like him.
Get everybody.
He has the crazies, and now he wants the
He wants to just corrupt everyone. You know?
Right, exactly, because that's the narcissism in him. You know, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if it's negative attention, positive attention, as long as it's
Just
attention.
as long as it's attention.
As long as it's attention.
I think if you break politics down, left and right, and you break it down to its most basic, no context, no personalities, nothing. The question becomes, can somebody be too rich? Right now, all the way on the left, that the answer would be anybody that has anything is too rich. Right? That I don't know that I don't endorse that personally. I don't agree with it. All the way on the right, it's the person that has the most power is the only person that should have any power. Right? And again, these are very far apart.
Extremes, but two sides of the same coin.
And the question, so in The Boys, Billy is the most left, the most Marxist of all the characters, because he says that nobody should have any more power than a person, and that's why he has the vendetta against the Supes. And Homelander here reveals himself as the expression of the idea that one person not just is the most powerful and can do these things, right? Because that's something that's a matter of fact, but should. And that's a huge difference.
Right. Why not make people's lives more simpler when you can make all the decisions for them?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can just overrule them anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, what will you have? What do you got for me for breakfast today? Well, you can have some cereal or nothing. Oh, I'll have some cereal. Oh, nothing it is. You know what I mean? It's like,
hey, it's all what Loki wanted. He just wanted
it. That's exactly
that's all it was.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's the big, it's the biggest misconception. People want to be ruled.
People love to be ruled at the end of the day.
Right. Just tell me what to do.
Ideas, the fall of a democracy,
Right. Tell me what to do. I'll follow. Right.
I will follow.
I will follow.
So, it's interesting to see if these people, or how many of these people will be willing to give up, their determination.
Yeah.
To Homelander, and to see how Homelander tries to weave all these intersectionalities together. The Nazis, to use their term, that think Stormfront was right. The people that think that the world is a very scary place and we need to be protected. And then now he's trying to, forcibly wed the traditional, I don't know, goody two shoes. Like we said, goody two shoes.
Good old country girl.
From
Owl.
Owl.
But I tell you what, I didn't see that coming though. They sort of telegraphed, okay, well, Homelander and I'm not Homelander, but Starlight and Huey, they got their thing, and then okay, Supersonic comes in the picture, so we're going to get like a little triangle that way. Nope. Homelander is going to insert himself in a situation, and now everybody is going to be upset. Just shaking in their boots and stuff. So it's like, wow, okay, I didn't see that one coming. It's a great way to subvert tropes. I love how this show subverts tropes, and makes you think, okay, this is what a superhero should do. Nope. This is the way that they should act. Nope. We're going to go in a whole completely different direction because why not? You wouldn't expect it, but things in our society right now are happening that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So why not have our superheroes go through like the same type of thing?
Right. People are at home are going, this is my Homelander. This is my Homelander.
Imagine this pantheon of gods, this mythological group as being symbolic of, wealthy people in our society, about whom we obsess and whom, are interconnected in these relationships that are of dubious reality and dubious, truthhood. And we are sort of sitting here at the behest of the media, which buffets us with information about their lives that perhaps we don't want and never would seek in a normal circumstance. And the question again here is, are these people, what should we do with these people? Or is it desirable for us to produce them? Are their talents worth the efforts to create them? Right? And then what do you do with them once you've made them? This show's super deep.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it does this at the same time that they,
make us laugh.
They show you exactly why the whole fascist system is a pyramid scheme, except for one person, because your place on the pole is based not on your ability, not on how fast you are, like A-Train or
Right.
Oh man, it's calling him a fat fuck, which is crap, making me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Oh, you eating 2 dozen cupcakes. When you're running. Homelander as the drinking boss is so great. But we get, we see all this stuff happening, and the question is like, why do we even give a shit about? Why would we give a shit about these people? In this case, everybody's forced to care, because if they don't, Homelander will literally obliterate Manhattan. So you kind of have to like buy the magazines and put on the TV. But there's now the implicit threat, which was love me or else, is now quite explicit. It's very much love me or else, and a lot of people are gonna decide not to choose love me, and I think Billy's already chosen or else.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it'll be really interesting how they resolve this, and I think it will be kind of weak. I mean, if they go that route, I'm fine with it. If they find out like that physical kryptonite to take, Homelander down, I think that's sort of an easy way out, of a situation. Everything. This is the thing that can take out Homelander. We found a kryptonite. If it was a more complex, more way where you can actually turn what he believes in the most against him and actually take him down like that, I think it will be I mean, it would put the writing level on the show that much, to another level.
Well, you got to think that's going to be foreshadowed with his son, and some way.
Yeah.
At least they're going to lure him into whatever. They're going to. His son's going to have more to play in this, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see, like,
Chekhov's son.
Well, the story of Victoria / Nadia and Giancarlo and Esposito, like, how is their story going to intertwine with Homelander? How are they going to react? Because he always had the power over Homelander.
Yeah.
Now he's lost his power over Homelander. So how's that dynamic going to work now?
He's not afraid of him though, but he's losing his power. He's not afraid of him, so it'll be interesting to see how he deals with this.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like he's always been the one to say, "No, Homelander, this is how it's going to happen." Now that Homelander's like, "Nope, flip the script on that one." How is he going to react to this? It's going to be it's going to be interesting, and he has his his superpower girl. His so. How's she gonna how's those stories gonna interact? Because it's gonna come down to the pyramid. It's all gonna come together at some point in time. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it's all woven. But I have utmost faith in our writers to do so, because they have never shown anything otherwise than but a great story.
Yeah.
So
they burn through plot at a pretty good clip. Mm-hmm. I know, we talk about like on our other show, Carbonite Bounty BS, which you can catch Wednesday nights at 10, right on this channel.
I got to tune into that because I got to see people's opinions, because I have a very strong opinion.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to have you on next week. We talk about Obi-Wan, and I think that they're not holding a lot of stuff back. They're not waiting to sweep, right? Which is maybe like we talk about how this is a streaming, so the ultimate thing you really can't do on TV, right? It's this stuff. But I think they're burning through stuff. I mean, they're not letting stuff sit around. They're not letting issues sit around. They're addressing them and moving on.
Right.
I wonder, and I want Billy. We're coming to the end of the show here, but Billy has taken this Compound V, this V24, and is experiencing the withdrawal effects at the end of this. Which gives us another hilarious body horror moment when he throws up in Huey's mouth at the end. Of all this stuff, mouth throw that I just can't. You just can't even at the end, you can't react squeamishly to it just because you're so empty.
Huey's like, what the?
So we see this other idea, right, which is You know, the
If
tension.
you can't beat them, join. If you can't beat
Yeah,
them,
do you adopt? How do you have to adopt their tactics? Do you stoop to their levels? Another way to think of it. When they go low, go high. Is I think what
Right.
Obama is. Right.
Right.
That's just the historical quote
Right.
I'm thinking of right now. So the question is, what is justified? What isn't justified? What's justified in the face of the ultimate enemy is the ultimate behavior, right? I mean, enemy at the gate style stuff is ultimately justified at a certain point. So.
Huey says towards the end there, he's like, "I'm tired of losing." You know, to start
Right.
like everything.
Tired of losing.
I'm tired of losing. You know, let's try this butcher's way and everything. You know, he was right all along. You know, everything, every incident tried to do something, kind of like how things are like today and everything. They've lost so much trying to do the right thing, trying to be the good guy and everything. But they've been getting pounded by the bad guy or the other side or whatever so much that Huey's tired of losing. He wants to win. You know, which is winning the best thing for the people or is the best thing for what they're trying to do? So I guess that's a meta question.
What is best for the people? is it best for the people to be thrown into a meat grinder like a war with the Soviet Union, for instance, be at the behest of their government, and the government to essentially say, wait, there's nothing to do about it. You know what I mean? Which is essentially what happened. Or is it best for the people to have a psychopath who's willing to adopt the tactics of that same reactionary movement and apply them indiscriminately, and because they believe they can make the best choice for everybody in a collective. So I think what's interesting about this show is it does a good job of presenting both of the specious viewpoints on the spectrum, because they're both from places that I think are specious.
Right.
Equally as specious, which is a hard thing to do, a very hard thing to do, and I think they deserve extra credit for that. And they
and doing the silliness of superheroes, it's just silly. You know, people in costumes doing all this crazy stuff is silly.
Right.
There's no point to it.
Right. And that's exactly why they do such a great job of
make
it.
a movie.
It's all to make a movie.
That's the whole point of it. That's it. It's not to save people. It's not to do anything good. It's barely even to make the money. It's just to make this stupid, crappy movie so that the product that they made has any sort of point whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because they don't do anything. I mean, and we see this with the flashback with Payback. Yeah. They're worthless. Why are they there? They're totally worthless.
They're killing their own soldiers and everything, just messing up the whole thing. And
they get themselves messed up. They get Soldier Boy killed, or my guess is defected. Because my guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's coming back.
If he's just around, like that would be the thing, right? For him to come back and be like, that's it. He has to come back and fight Homelander or something. Be cool. Anyway, whatever. I'm excited for Friday.
I'm excited for it as well. Can't wait to see what the next episode brings, and it's only going to be one, so it's going to make me hungry for the next one.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I'm going to 1 hour of my time. It's going to be done, and I'm just going to be like, I got to wait a whole another week for this.
1 hour, 1 6-pack. It's not, not an unaccomplishable thing, but I don't know if it's something I want to do more than
All right. So I guess we'll be back on, if we're going to get back on this on Friday, we'll discuss, behind the scenes and everything. But we definitely will be back to talk about the fourth episode of The Boys. Nerds Talk About The Boys, people. Make sure that you're going to our favorite, website, nerdcyclopedia.com, and checking us out on all the platforms. Contact us at nerdcyclopedia.com, nerds at nerdcyclopedia. Leave us some feedback. We'd love to get all your contents and everything, and make sure that you are joining our Facebook group and subscribing right now. All right. Oh, and Carbonite Bounty BS this Wednesday, 10 o'clock. We are on episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Make sure you check us out. And we might even have another guest on, if he wants to talk about it, He said he has some strong opinions on some Obi-Wan stuff. So we shall see. We shall see. But thanks again for joining us, guys. If you guys are watching us right now or just getting on, catch our replay. We'll be right back. All right.
That's right. And I'm going to try this out. You guys ready? All right. We're going to be back next time. Same nerd time. Same nerd channel.
You know.